What if your skin, marked by time, has simply been waiting for a new kind of care? One that helps it bloom from the inside out. That question may have reached you like a whisper, because something within is quietly asking to be heard. Perhaps you're going through a moment where nothing feels quite right, and in that silence, your body speaks. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It simply signals, gently, that it needs your attention. A softer touch, a kinder glance, a moment of pause. At 68, Mrs. Evelyn began to notice changes that went beyond what the mirror showed. Her skin had become drier, less elastic, with fine lines that seemed to hold not just the passage of time, but long-carried fatigue and untold stories. This wasn't about vanity. It was about a deep desire to feel alive again, to be present in her own body, to reconnect with her essence. She understood that aging is a natural part of life. But something inside her whispered that there was still another way forward, a gentler way. And so, she decided to listen, to pay attention to the quiet messages her body had been sending all along. Messages about the healing that begins with everyday care, with conscious touch, with the love behind each small gesture. This is the story of how simple, accessible, and consistent changes gave Evelyn more than just a new glow. They brought her back to herself. And maybe, as you hear this story, you'll notice that your skin is quietly calling you back home. Greg Braden once said that the electromagnetic field of the heart is the most powerful in the human body. The feelings born in the heart, gratitude, compassion, love, reach our cells before we even act. And when those emotions are present, something shifts. Not just inside the chest, but on the surface of the skin, in the light behind the eyes, in the tenderness of every touch. This body, yes, even the one you may see as fragile, is more than what it appears. It is an intelligent field of energy, and within it, there are still paths waiting to be discovered. This isn't about chasing the impossible. It's about opening space for what is possible when soul, mind, and body return to conversation, with respect and with presence. Evelyn's journey didn't begin with dramatic promises or complicated routines. It began quietly, with small, thoughtful choices that slowly became habits. And within each of those choices, there was a deeper listening of the body, of intuition, of the quiet wisdom that awakens when we begin to treat ourselves with gentleness. 1. Switching to lukewarm showers. For many years, Evelyn started her mornings with long, hot showers. It had become a ritual of comfort, especially on cold days, something that gave her tired body a moment of relief. The warmth felt soothing, familiar, reassuring. But over time, her skin began to tell a different story. What once felt comforting now seemed to leave its mark. After each shower, her skin felt tighter, rougher, more vulnerable, as if something essential had been washed away. It was after a gentle conversation with her dermatologist that Evelyn considered a simple change, something that sounded small but felt significant. She replaced the hot water with lukewarm. At first, it was uncomfortable, almost like giving up a quiet pleasure. But soon, she noticed a subtle kind of wisdom in that new warmth. Lukewarm water doesn't strip, it soothes. And as the days passed, Evelyn began to feel small shifts. Her skin no longer pulled tight as it dried. It stopped demanding immediate relief from lotions. The redness on her arms and legs, once persistent, began to fade. The change was quiet, but it was real. She also began shortening her time in the shower. What had once been an escape became a moment of presence. As the warm water moved across her body, she allowed herself to simply be, breathing slowly, feeling each drop as if it carried something more than water, as if it was offering care. That one small adjustment became the doorway to something larger. By honoring the needs of her skin, Evelyn found herself honoring her own rhythm. The harsh heat gave way to a gentler warmth, one rooted in attention. The act of bathing stopped being routine. It became a daily ritual of reconnection. In this simple gesture, repeated without fanfare, Evelyn rediscovered something sacred. Her skin responded. But long before that, something within her began to ease. And that, perhaps, was the real transformation. 2. Gentle cleansing with fragrance-free products. For much of her life, Evelyn believed that the scent of soap meant cleanliness. The rich lather, the fresh perfume. It all gave her the sense that she was caring for herself. Each bath felt complete only when wrapped in those familiar aromas. But over time, her skin began to speak in its own way. After each wash, she noticed discomfort. Stinging near the eyes, redness along her neck, a quiet irritation that hadn't been there before. That's when she started reading the labels more carefully. Words she couldn't pronounce. Synthetic fragrances. Ingredients that felt more like a marketing promise than a gesture of care. And as she listened to her body and sought guidance, something became clear. Mature skin doesn't need more stimulation. It needs gentleness. And sometimes, gentleness comes in silence, even in scent. Evelyn replaced her usual soaps with a simple, fragrance-free cleanser designed for sensitive skin. The difference didn't happen overnight, but after just a few days, the burning sensation faded. Her skin felt more at ease, and the mirror stopped reflecting irritation. What she saw instead was steadiness, a calm resilience returning to the surface. This new cleansing ritual became something quiet, even meditative. No more rushing, no more thick foam, no bold claims. Just a meeting between skin and water, accompanied by a product that didn't compete with her body, but honored it. In time, Evelyn began to notice something unexpected. Her face seemed to rest easier. That soft glow, the kind you can't bottle, started to appear. Not from creams, not from cover-up, but from peace. A quiet radiance that came when she stopped doing harm to what simply needed care. And in that discovery, something stayed with her. True gentleness heals. Not loudly, not all at once, but with presence, even when it has no fragrance at all. 3. Daily application of a rich moisturizer. The cream wasn't new. Evelyn had seen it many times before, lined up on pharmacy shelves, tucked inside modest packaging, offering quiet promises in small print. But something shifted when she began applying it with intention. It stopped being just another product. It became a gesture of reconciliation with her own skin. After every bath, while her body was still warm and damp from the gentle water, she would smooth the cream over her skin slowly. No rush, no mindless routine. She chose a formula enriched with hyaluronic acid and ceramides, ingredients known to help hold moisture and strengthen the skin's natural barrier. With each motion, her skin softened, and inside so did she. Where her skin had once been dull and stubbornly dry, a quiet glow began to emerge. Not the artificial shine of youth, but the gentle vibrance of a body finally being listened to. Her skin's texture changed. It became smoother, more resilient, as if it, too, had been waiting to be seen not as a surface to cover, but as something alive to honor. But more than what she could see, Evelyn noticed what she could feel. Each morning, as her hands moved across her face, her neck, her arms, there was a silent conversation with time itself. Every line, every curve, became a place of gratitude. Even the parts she once wished away now felt meaningful. Hydration became more than a habit. It became a meeting place, a space where care no longer meant fighting age, but embracing it. Each drop of cream was a reminder. The skin reflects the soul, and every small act of love has the power to nourish inside and out. If Evelyn's story is speaking to something within you, we invite you to subscribe. More stories, reflections, and shared wisdom await. Gentle companions for your own path of renewal. 4. Consistent use of broad-spectrum sunscreen. For much of her life, Evelyn believed sunscreen was meant for beach days and long walks under blazing sun. Indoors, on cloudy mornings or chilly winter afternoons, it felt unnecessary. But at 68, something shifted in her awareness. Her gaze turned inward, not just to reflect on what the mirror showed, but to consider what could still be cared for with honesty and presence. That's when she learned something simple, yet profound. Ultraviolet rays don't wait for sunshine. They pass silently through clouds, through windows, through time itself. They continue touching the skin, even when we can't see them. With that new understanding, Evelyn began applying a broad-spectrum sunscreen every morning, choosing one with SPF 30. At first, it felt like a small adjustment, barely noticeable, but as the days passed, gentle changes emerged. Dark spots that had quietly crept in over the years began to settle. That faint burning sensation across her cheeks faded. Her skin seemed to breathe more freely, as if, at last, it was no longer exposed to the quiet erosion it had endured for so long. She chose a light, non-greasy formula, one that didn't alter the natural texture of her skin, and applied it as a tender act of care. It wasn't about undoing the past. It was about choosing how to move forward, giving her skin a future where it could be protected, respected, her own. This daily ritual became part of her morning awakening, a moment to remember that while the sun is life-giving, it also asks for partnership, for wisdom. Evelyn came to see that protecting her skin wasn't about avoiding the light, but about welcoming it with balance. And in that care, she found something deeper, an honoring of her own boundaries, and the quiet dignity that lives in every choice to preserve what matters. 5. Incorporating antioxidant-rich foods. There was a time when Evelyn thought of eating as a simple necessity, just a way to fill the stomach, follow routines, repeat what she'd always known. But as her body began asking for deeper attention, something shifted. She started to realize that food speaks its own language, a quiet dialogue between what we take in and what shows up in our health. It was through this growing awareness that she discovered the role of antioxidants. Found in foods like berries, leafy greens, nuts, olive oil, turmeric, and even green tea, these small natural elements help protect ourselves from the wear of time, the pressure of stress, and the invisible impact of pollution in daily life. By gently incorporating these foods into her day, Evelyn wasn't chasing miracles. She was choosing alignment. Eating with intention became a way to bring her body and spirit into harmony. Slowly, almost without noticing at first, she began to see changes. Her skin looked less dull, more vibrant, with a quiet glow that came not from a product, but from within. Nuts became her afternoon ritual, berries a morning gift. Greens appeared on her plate more often, nothing fancy, just simple, living foods. Each color she added felt like an offering of balance, a promise of nourishment that went beyond hunger. Over time, Evelyn came to understand something important. Her skin wasn't just a surface reacting to the outside world. It was a reflection of what was happening inside. Choosing food with beauty, with softness, with care, became a way of tending to herself in a new, deeper way. The transformation wasn't fast. It wasn't forced, but it was real. And with it came a quiet truth. The skin begins to bloom when the whole body is nourished with presence. There is wisdom in what we eat, and healing in the quiet, loving choices we make every day. 6. Ensuring adequate hydration. For a long time, Evelyn overlooked the power of water. Drinking was something she did without much thought, usually only when thirst became impossible to ignore. But as she began tuning into her body's more subtle messages, she realized hydration wasn't just about comfort or routine. It was a quiet act of devotion to the life flowing through each cell. She started with one simple change, setting aside small, intentional moments throughout her day to drink water, not as a rule but as a gentle commitment to her own balance. Before long, what had been a target, those 8 glasses a day, became something natural, a rhythm. The change didn't take long to reveal itself. Her skin, once dry and tired-looking, began to soften. A subtle glow returned. Not dramatic, not overnight, but real. The tightness she used to feel around her face eased. Her complexion looked calmer, more settled. It was as if her skin had been waiting for this small act of consistency. Evelyn began to see water differently, not just as a physical need, but as a symbol of flow, of clarity, of presence. Each sip felt like a quiet affirmation that life, even in its stillest moments, continues to move. Hydration became part of her spiritual practice, a way to honor her body as something sacred, something to sustain gently, even as the years moved forward. More than just refreshing her skin, drinking water became a practice of reconnection, a reminder that health is not built only through big changes, but through small, quiet acts repeated with care. And in the simple ritual of drinking water, Evelyn found a steady, lasting wellspring of renewal. For those looking to deepen their skin care with something extra, ReviTag Serum can be a kind companion. With natural ingredients like sea buckthorn oil, colloidal oatmeal, and epicatechin, it supports the skin's collagen structure in a gentle, nourishing way. This isn't about miracles. It's about showing up with presence. Just a few drops, massaged into the skin with tenderness, can help restore firmness and radiance. You'll find the official store link in the description below. Evelyn's skin didn't change by miracle. It awakened, and in that awakening, it revealed something we so often forget, that true transformation doesn't come from the outside, but from the space we open within. Time passed. Of course it did. The marks remained, but now they carried a different meaning, like pages from a book that had been read with care, with love, with full attention. There's a tree that blooms once a year in the desert. Under the harshest sun, against all odds, it flowers. Not because it looks strong, but because its roots, deep and quiet, have learned how to hold water. Our bodies are much the same. When nurtured with patience, with listening, they too bloom. Not to become what they once were, but to reveal what they can still become. Evelyn wasn't searching for youth. She was searching for presence. Taking care of her skin became a way to return to herself, to rediscover the simple, powerful act of looking at her reflection with kindness. And as she did, something deeper shifted. Her soul seemed to rest more gently beneath her skin, and that peace began to show on the outside. Now, maybe you're wondering, what if your skin, too, is waiting for a gentler touch, for care that goes beyond appearance? What if the thing that troubles you most today is actually a quiet invitation to come home to yourself? There are no promises of eternal youth here, but there is the possibility of deeper presence. And that, all on its own, is a kind of healing. If this story spoke to you, subscribe to the channel. More moments like this are waiting for you. We'll see you in the next video.